It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're beginning a brand new month, October 7th, 2005. A lot of movies to get to. I think I counted 8 movies, so no time to give you a sum up of what's coming up here. Let's just go ahead and jump on into it. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend. That's the feature film debut for Wallace and Gromit in The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
It's furry, it's fuzzy, it's ferocious. Fantastic! But it's no match
We'll save it!
for the world's greatest inventor and his trusty companion.
We created a monster.
From the creators of Chicken Run,
Someone help!
Mob supplies! Get your angry mob supplies here!
Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, rated G, starts Friday, October 7th everywhere.
See, that was back in the day when we didn't treat the G rating like it was a fucking pariah like we do today. But, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, the second feature film from Aardman Animation, but the first to feature the signature characters from Aardman Animation, in a parody of classic monster movies and Hammer horror films that also serves as part of the Wallace and Gromit series, in which you have a good-natured yet eccentric cheese-loving inventor Wallace, once again played by Peter Sallis, and his intelligent, quiet dog named Gromit, who only speaks through his emotions. In their latest venture as pest control agents, they come to the rescue of a town plagued by rabbits before the annual giant vegetable competition. However, the duo soon find themselves against the giant rabbit consuming the town's crops. And, you know, I thought that commercial there was going to spoil what was in this movie, but did a pretty good job of not spoiling the big twist. But really, when you think about it, when you see what ends up happening to cause the were-rabbit to actually exist, you can kind of figure out where exactly it's going to go from there. But despite all that, this is still a really damn good movie. A really fun film in general. I love the Wallace and Gromit shorts as a whole. So seeing them in a big adventure like this and seeing their world expanded in this way, we have all these different characters now being introduced into the storyline. It's really well done. And it's a great movie from Aardman Animation that proved that Chicken Run wasn't just a fluke. Aardman really has an opportunity to do many feature-length films instead of just short films in general, because Chicken Run was a big gamble back then that paid off for them in the long run. But this film in particular, what's interesting about this movie in general is that the film actually was a flop here in the U.S. I mean, it wasn't, okay, I take that back, it wasn't like a flop, but it definitely underperformed considering what DreamWorks Animation movies were making at that time. They actually made more money overseas, but then again, I think a couple things come into play in this case. One, I don't think Wallace and Gromit here in the U.S. was as well known as it is overseas. I mean, most people kind of know who they are here in the U.S. They've been on Cartoon Network a couple times in the 90s and the 2000s, Disney Channel as well. But here in the U.S., I don't think Wallace and Gromit have that same kind of love that they do overseas. Kind of like with Doraemon in general. Well, like Doraemon has a little bit of a smaller fan base compared to anywhere else in the world, because Doraemon's a very popular character, and you know, Wallace and Gromit and Doraemon are kind of similar in that pathway. And another thing that I think kind of showed with this movie in particular is the fact that most stop-motion movies don't usually do very well here in the U.S. No matter what time of the year you put them out, they really do not become big blockbuster hits. I think Chicken Run had the advantage of opening up in the summer where, you know, there was a lack of family films to really combat it, and it just had the benefit of a good critical reception, good build-up with the audiences coming in. But, you know, Wallace and Gromit, Flushed Away, another one they did. What was another one? The Shaun the Sheep movies, Arthur Christmas, all great movies. Not big financial hits, however. But this one that got the most out of it because it did eventually win the Best Animated Feature at the Oscars that year. But then again, that's really not much of a surprise considering how much Wallace and Gromit are such likable characters. And what they do in this movie is so damn funny and so clever. The animation is incredible. The story is really well done. Like, they sold it as a vegetarian horror film. And, yeah. It kind of feels like, wait, it's a horror film for vegetarians because of just how they shoot these scenes in general. It takes a lot of risk, too. It's not just something that we've seen in the shorts beforehand. They've taken what they've done in the shorts, but expanded it, and expand this world in general, expand what they can do with the camera work they have in here. And it makes for a really fun adventure all the way through. That has a lot of really good animation, a lot of good talent, a lot of good jokes all the way through. Just a phenomenal movie. One that I cannot recommend enough. And since we got Halloween coming up here in the next month or so, now would probably be a good time to definitely check it out. Especially if you love Wallace and Gromit. If you have not seen this movie, you should definitely check this movie out. And as of the time of recording this, we're getting another sequel coming out this year exclusively to Netflix. But see if that turns out to be any good. Hey, they're bringing back the Penguin from the wrong trousers, so my interest is definitely piqued. And be the first one that it'll be the first Wallace and Gromit adventure since Peter Stiles passed away. But yeah, not much more to say about this one. It's a great movie, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were Rabbit. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. We have a lot of underrated movies that came out this weekend, and here's one of the first of many of them. Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette, along with Shirley MacLaine and Curtis Hanson's In Her Shoes.
There are women who have lace bras, silk thongs, things designed to excite a man. A thong would look ridiculous on me.
Shoes like these should not be locked in a closet. You should be living a life of scandal and passion. I'll let you do my resume if you let me do your makeup. Ew!
It's worth the pain. What was your last job?
Come on, you really don't want to do this right now, do you?
No, but I also don't want you on my couch for the next 3 months.
Why did you let her do this to you?
Because she's my sister.
Yes, Rosie.
I want you out now. Where am I supposed to go? You figure it out. Is it Bella Hirsch?
Yes, it is.
Did you have a daughter named Carolyn?
This is my granddaughter, Maggie Feller. Oh, hello.
Turns out I have a grandmother I never knew about. Our mother was dead. The grandmother might have come in handy.
She was impossible, Rose.
We know all about you. Miss comes to Florida to milk your grandmother for all she's worth.
Does this place have a pool?
This place just keeps getting better and better.
How come you don't have any pictures of my mom around?
You put out pictures, people ask questions. They expect you to tell them everything. I don't do that.
Just all the pieces coming together, from the acting to the writing to the directing, makes for a really great movie. Based off of the novel by Jennifer Weiner, you have a story where you have the relationship between two sisters played by Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette, and their grandmother played by Shirley MacLaine. This was directed by Curtis Hanson, who gave us 8 Mile and LA Confidential. Great movies in general. He also this is also written by Suzanne Grant, who's written a ton of good movies as well. It's a movie that I don't think got the proper respect it deserved. I mean, it did okay numbers at the box office, but has largely been forgotten since then. And it's kind of a shame, because this is a really good movie that definitely is much different than the bombastic movies that Hanson had made beforehand with, LA Confidential and 8 Mile. This is a more straightforward, straight-down-to-earth storyline that I think works very well to the film's advantage. Plus, you got a lot of great performances from the 3 leading actresses in here. Shirley MacLaine giving it her all in here. Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette are great. Mark Fairston's pretty good in the movie. You have a lot of very good talent in here. Just a really fun movie in general. A really solid film. Nice balance of comedy and drama thrown into here. It's a really, really good movie that doesn't get the proper respect it deserves. But it is definitely a very simplistic, nicely put together film. And, yeah, a really great underrated film from Curtis Hanson, and especially with the people involved in it, I definitely recommend it. Definitely check out In Her Shoes. Speaking of good underrated films, here's another one. This is Matthew McConaughey, Al Pacino, and Rene Russo in Two for the Money.
Walter knows his business. A lot of gamblers out there, and they have safety. So Brampton knows the game.
Now it's 900K.
That's me. I don't lose. This guy is a machine. All he does is work out and pick winners. Man, I'm proud of you. This Friday, you don't have to much bigger fish here. Walter knows when to start. You push everything as far as you can. That push small. Two for the money. Rated R. Starts Friday.
When it's a funny thing, this is a great movie. You have Matthew McConaughey as a former football player. An injury keeps him from hitting the pros, but his quarterback's anticipation makes him a brain predictor of games' outcomes. Needing money, he leaves Vegas for Manhattan to work with Walter Abrams, played by Al Pacino, who advises gamblers. Walton has a doting wife, played by Rene Russo, a young daughter, and a thriving business, but he has problems: a bum heart, a belief he's a master manipulator, and addictions barely keep him in check. He remakes Brandon, and a father-son relationship grows. Then things go awry. Walter may be running a con. The odds against Brandon mount. This is directed by DJ Caruso, who has directed a lot of movies that we talked about before. Some films that were not that great early on, The Salton Sea and Taking Lives. But starting with this movie, he began to turn it around a little bit. He directed some pretty good movies after this point, with this and then Disturbia, Eagle Eye, I Am Number 4. And then kind of slowed back down again after that with some really lackluster films in general. But this is a really good movie. This is a very underrated film. Like I said, it features Matthew McConaughey and Al Pacino working off each other so well. Renee Russo, I think this was one of her first movies she did after so many years away. I think the last movie I saw her in before this was Lethal Weapon 4. She probably was in some other things too, but I think that's the last thing I remember her being in. But you also have Armand Assante in here, Jeremy Piven, channeling his inner Ari Gold in here. It's a really good movie, a really engaging film, a really sleek, stylish-looking film that kind of got a bad rap from most critics back in the day, but it's actually a really good movie. It's a really engaging film where you have two titans of different generations, Al Pacino and Matthew McConaughey, showing what they can do as really good actors in general, and they play off each other so well in here. It's a really good movie, and one I definitely recommend checking out. A criminally underrated film, two for the money. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie here. One of the big surprise hits of the weekend, and that is The Gospel. Part of that weird year where movies like this would just make big money at the box office. We talked about Women That Are Elusive from last year. Tyler Perry began his legacy, his dynasty with A Diary of a Mad Black Woman earlier in the year. Now we have this movie, which was a massive hit in general, and it retells the parable of the prodigal son in a modern context, where you have Boris Kodjoe as a showbiz artist performing in nightclubs in Los Angeles, learning that his father, who's a pastor at an evangelical church in Atlanta, is sick and decides to go home. He learns that Frank, played by Idris Elba, has become the second of his father and is married to Charlene, played by Nona Gay from The Polar Express, if you remember her as the little girl in that movie. Fred announces to his son that he has a prostate cancer. David gradually abandons his old life and begins to occupy an important position in the church, which will attract Frank's jealousy. You have Omar Goody in here, Clifton Powell. You see the names in the credits there, including Keisha Knight Pulliam. I've never seen this movie, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, but it was one of those movies when it first came out. It was one of those big surprise hits that kind of came out of nowhere and kind of showed that, these church groups who go to these movies, they usually will help make a movie like this become the success that it is, because this thing only cost $4 million and managed to bring in $7 million on its opening weekend, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but for a small movie like this, I mean, it's impressive that this movie made as much money as it did. It ended up making about almost 4 times its original budget. So there you go. I mean, it just goes to show you that this was one of those movies that showed that these type of movies can do very well with the church groups that they usually get for these people to come together, and it kind of led to studios to really focus on not just church groups in general, but groups in general, because at the end of these trailers, you're going to start to see things like, for group tickets, called so-and-so and so-and-so. Like, I remember seeing that for, like, Transformers and all that other stuff, all these other blockbusters that started putting that in there, but yeah, it's a interesting thing that happened in this movie. I can't really say if it's any good or not, but give it credit for what it helped to launch overall, not just these movies becoming successful, but the idea of group ticket sales becoming more of a thing. So there you go. So with all that said, let's go ahead and go back to some movies that I have seen. More great underrated little films. Ryan Reynolds, Anna Faris, and Dane Cook, and Justin Long in the very funny comedy Waiting.
On October 7th, make reservations for a comedy for anyone who's ever eaten or worked in a restaurant.
God, I can't wait to quit this job.
Ryan Reynolds.
What do you think of Natasha? I think she's illegal. Yeah, I've made peace with that.
Anna Faris.
How do you feel about male nudity?
See what I mean? Pervert.
Justin Long, Luis Guzman, Dane Cook, and Andy Milonakis.
I'm pulling my shotty like John Gotti.
Amen, brother.
Waiting.
I hope you enjoyed everything. I know I did.
Rated R. In theaters everywhere, October.
Another movie that went on to have a massive cult following, and it's kind of hard not to see why. I mean, it's The Dinner Shift at Shenanigans, where you have a clueless boss played by David Koechner, assigning Mitch, played by John Francis Daly, a 22-year-old trainee, to Monty, played by Ryan Reynolds, who's the smooth talker who chases girls for one-night stands. Keep in mind, this is back when Van Wilder was very popular. Dean, played by Justin Long, feels that life is passing him by. Dan offers him the assistant manager job and gives him until midnight to decide. Other waiters, cooks, and busboys have their issues and personalities. Bishop the dishwasher, played by Dane Cook, is their counselor. Actually, is it Dane Cook as Bishop? No, it's T. McBride. I'm sorry. Dane Cook plays Floyd in this, but you can tell he's in here. They don't show T. McBride in the trailers for this, but Bishop, played by T. McBride, is their counselor. During the shift, Monty may learn something. Dean makes his decision. Dan makes a play for the not yet 18-year-old hostess, played by Vanessa Langels. Customers get their comeuppance. The guys all play the in-house homophobic flashing game. The gals determine why they won't, and Mitch gets the last word. And boy, does he ever. This is basically Clerks, except instead of it taking place in a grocery store, it takes place over the course of a day at a restaurant. And it's very funny. It's a really good, entertaining movie with a lot of great talent. I mean, a cast that includes Ryan Reynolds, Anna Faris, Justin Long, David Koechner, Louise Guzman, Chi McBride, John Francis Daly, Caitlin Doubleday, Alana Ubach, Vanessa Langels, Andy Milonakis, Dane Cook, Jordan Ladd, Emmanuel Shariki, Wendy Malick. Just stacked cast, stacked comedy talent all throughout this movie. And it's just really, really funny stuff, man. It's absolutely hilarious stuff. Just pitch perfect. Just really funny, over-the-top comedy. Good raunchy comedy all the way through. And like I said, it's basically Clerks in a restaurant, but that's not a bad thing, per se. It actually works to the film's favor in general, because you have so much good talent involved in here, and it makes for a really good movie. A really fun film, really funny stuff all the way through. It's a really good raunchy movie, and one that I highly recommend checking out. If you like stuff like Clerks, you like stuff like American Pie, if you like a lot of these raunchy comedies, these great raunchy comedies, this is definitely one that definitely deserves a lot more attention, and it has gotten the attention that it deserves. It has gone on to have that cult following, even had a direct-to-video sequel, which I'll be the first to tell you was not that great, which doesn't really surprise me with a direct-to-video sequel to Waiting, but this is a really good movie. This is one I do recommend checking out. It's definitely worth a watch, So let's get to some indie movies, and so we have a couple of really good ones in this particular segment here. Let's start off with the best of the bunch, and that is Good Night and Good Luck.
Are my children going to be asked to renounce me? You can't convict people by rumor and innuendo. I see a chain reaction that has no end. Somebody's going to go down for, and I will go down swinging. So we go.
We cannot defend freedom abroad by deserting it at home.
Good night, and good luck.
Just what a fantastic movie. Last time I talked to you guys, on the last show, I said that this was George Clooney's directorial debut. I was wrong. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which is another great movie of his, was back in 2002, but this is probably his overall magnum opus as a director. The story portrays the conflict between veteran journalist Edward R. Murrow, played by David Strathairn. Great character actor. This is easily his best role in general. I mean, he just channels Moreau in this. And U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy of Wisconsin, especially relating to the anti-communist senator's actions with the Senate Permit Subcommittee hearings on investigations. And a very topical movie, even by today's standards. I mean, now it's even more topical than ever, focusing on the theme of media responsibility and also addressing what occurs when U.S. journalism often offers voices of dissent from government policy. The movie takes its title literally from the line that Morrow routinely signed off his broadcast on, and it's just such an incredible movie, man. From the camera work, the visuals, the black and white sepia tone ideas, just incredible stuff. The cast is fantastic. Like I said, Strathairn, pitch perfect. You got Patricia Clarkson in here, George Clooney, Jeff Daniels, Robert Downey Jr., one of his two great movies coming out this month. Frank Langella, always going to be a terrific actor. Just an incredible movie. Like I said, has a lot of weight even in today's world in general, and just still holds up after all these years. It's just like, it's an amazing film, and one I cannot recommend enough. Definitely check this movie out. It's definitely one of the best movies of the year. Definitely one of the best movies of recent memory. One that definitely holds up a lot of weight in today's world, even back then, is compared to. Let me rephrase that. A lot of what's in this movie still holds up in today's world than it did nearly 20 years ago. It's a masterpiece, man. One I don't usually talk about enough, but what a great movie, man. Good night and good luck. I can't recommend it enough, so definitely check this one out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Kevin Bacon and Colin Firth and Alison Lohman in Where the Truth Lies.
Be a killer. The question became how far you were prepared to go.
Definitely not one of Adam McGowan's better movies in general. This is based off of a novel by Rupert Holmes and alienates between 1957, where you have a comedy duo played by Kevin Bacon and Colin Firth at the height of their success, and in 1972, when a journalist played by Alison Lohman is determined to unravel the mystery of a young woman found dead in their hotel suite 15 years ago. The young model played by Rachel Blanchard. And yeah, like I said, Adam McGowan's made some good movies in the past. We've talked about some of his movies on the show. Exotica's a really good one. But this is definitely one of his lesser ones. I mean, this is a film that really is not that good of a movie. Even with Colin Firth and Kevin Bacon, given that they're all as well as Alison Lohman, it has an interesting mystery to it, but unfortunately, it doesn't have enough there to really carry the load. And it's one, unfortunately, you can kind of figure out what's going to happen when it's all said and done. I mean, there's no real shock to the mystery whatsoever. And when they get to the reveal, it's just like, that's it? That's all you got for us on that front? And it's just like, I don't know. I kind of expected a lot more with the talent on board here, not just with the actors, but the writer and director as well. Just not in this one, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, that's a skip on Where the Truth Lies. So, let's go back to some good stuff here to wrap the show up here. Let's talk about The Squid and the Whale. Written and directed by Noah Baumbach, who gave us The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. He's also been involved in a ton of other great movies in general. As of recently, he did Marriage Story. It tells the semi-autobiographical story of two boys in Brooklyn dealing with their parents' divorce in 1986. The film is named after the giant squid and sperm whale diorama house at the American Museum of Natural History, which is seen in the film. And you have a cast that includes Jeff Daniels, Laura Linney, Jesse Eisenberg, William Baldwin, Anna Paquin. Really good movie, man. It's a really good movie that doesn't feel like a Wes Anderson movie, but it feels like what you expect from the director of Marriage Story. He's also done a lot of other great movies we've talked about on here, Kicking and Screaming. He will later do stuff like Margot at the Wedding, Greenberg, Marriage Story, as I mentioned before, the Meyerowitz stories, Francis Ha. He's written a lot of good stuff too. Fantastic Mr. Fox, Madagascar 3, Barbie recently. He's a really good filmmaker, and he definitely shows in this movie. He's got a lot of great actors to carry the load. He's got a good story to tell, a lot of really good young talent, especially Jesse Eisenberg in here. Not much more to say about this one. It's definitely one you should definitely check out. It's one, if you like a lot of Noah Baumbach's work, you'll definitely enjoy a lot about this movie in general. It's one I do highly, highly recommend. So, yeah, definitely check out The Squid and the Whale. So with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll have 3 more movies to look at, including the remake of The Fog, and some more underrated gems this week. The Fog not being one of them, but we do have Cameron Crowe's Elizabethtown with Orlando Bloom and Kirsten Dunst in it. We also have Tony Scott's Domino with Keira Knightley in it. So, three movies of interest to talk about here, but only 2 of them will actually be very underrated films that we'll talk about. We'll delve into all of them, though, on the next episode, so be on the lookout for that tomorrow. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.